Hello, everyone, and welcome to Elector TV, where we take a close look at the world of electronics, DIY projects, and the brilliant minds that make them possible. I'm your host, Brian Tristan Williams, coming to you live from New York today. And today we're incredibly excited to have a very special guest joining us from Germany, to my left there, a true pioneer in the DIY electronics community, known for turning complex concepts into accessible, fun, and highly informative projects. He's none other than the man behind the popular YouTube channel GreatScott, where he shares his passion for electronics, DIY projects, and educating aspiring makers from around the globe. From his early days of tinkering to developing sophisticated projects like the DIY Lipo supercharger kit in collaboration with us here at Elector, GreatScott has inspired countless individuals to explore the fascinating world of electronics. Today, we'll get a glimpse into his creative process, the challenges and triumphs of his journey, and what the future holds for DIY electronics enthusiasts. So grab your soldering irons and multimeters, because we're about to get an exclusive look into the mind of a maker who's changing the game one project at a time. Scott, welcome to our show.
Hi there. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the awesome intro. Very flattering.
It's not, well, you have a right to be flattered. You've got like 1.92 million subscribers, and I think we could probably get you the other 80,000 today based on our audience.
Don't promise too much, but yeah.
We've got people coming to us from all around the world. I see here Germany, of course, the Netherlands, Scotland, Belgium, Arnhem. So yeah, we've got a global audience going on
Awesome.
here. So I guess we'll start with first things first. Scott, what was it that made you, inspired you to become so obsessed with electronics? Because your output is you have so much output and so much content. I don't know where you find the time in a day.
Well, I do it for a living, so I have. It still takes a lot of time. I think for a big project video, I work the weekends. I think that's the problem with being self-employed. Sometimes it's hard to stop, especially when you're having fun with electronics. But yeah, how did I get started? It was all a big coincidence, I would say, actually. In school, I was, I wouldn't say obsessed, but I had fun with mathematics, physics, and I wanted to go in that direction, science stuff, basically. And I thought, what should I do? Because the possibilities nowadays endless. Chemistry, electronics, mechanical stuff, so much. And it was actually my mother who said, why not go into renewable energies? Nowadays, an even hotter topic than back then, I would say, 12 years ago. So I thought, okay, renewable energies, maybe that's a bit too specific. What can you do that's a bit more in general, where you can then later specify in which direction you want to go? And that's when I found electronics. I found a partner in my city who let me do, in German, it's called Ausbildung. It's an apprenticeship, I would say, and it's in combination with a studium in Germany. So the study in a university, it is combined that too. And that's how I got started. I loved it. The pace during the apprenticeship was maybe a bit too slow for me. We had a bit of free time there. And there I just explored electronics videos from so many electronics channels. Like back then, it was Dave Jones, if you know him, EV Blog. There was Afrotech Mods back then. Sadly, he stopped like 5 years ago. That was awesome.
I was wondering why I haven't seen him for a while. Ben Heck is great. Yeah.
Afrotech, I think he stopped because it was just not financially feasible.
Okay.
Like, it's not 100%. It's just what I grabbed from the conversation, from his videos. I think he was like, he spent so many hours on videos, which I can definitely understand, because maybe sometimes a video takes 50 hours, 100 hours. And then when it comes to electronics, there are not that many viewers, I would say. So if you're spending that much time and get like 50,000 views, if you only finance yourself with YouTube ads, it's not going to be a lot of money. for all the hours you put in. And back then, I think I don't know if he didn't want to do sponsorships, or back then it wasn't a thing, but it just didn't work out for him with the money. He loved doing it, but yeah, if he can't support his family or similar with what he's doing, then it's sad to stop. But I think it's necessary in that direction.
Yeah, and YouTube surprises you sometimes. You put up a video, you get 10 views, and you put up another video, and you get a huge surprise. I mean, I once made a video. I had to fix my mouse. It was a simple mouse, and it wasn't clicking or something. So I just stuck a camera on my head and did a POV of fixing the mouse, and it ended up getting 120,000 views. I'm not monetized, unfortunately, but yeah, it surprises you that way sometimes.
Definitely. Sometimes in the worst possible way, I gotta say. The last 3-4 videos I uploaded, they performed remarkably well, I would say. The video I did last week about sodium-ion batteries.
Salt batteries, yeah.
Yeah, salt batteries. I wouldn't say it went viral, but for my view count, it's doing very well. Never expected that for this video. But I bet the next video, I actually have a small teaser here. It's a big project I've been working on since the beginning of this year. And I bet this one will not perform as well as the salt battery video. It's always like that. I put tons of sweat, blood, and tears into a big project videos, and it's just project videos. It's not really that big with viewers nowadays, I would say. Okay, it depends on the topic, but usually I take something from AliExpress, something new, something maybe curious, what people haven't seen that much, and it performs way better than a big project, which this is just how YouTube is. And I don't blame the viewer. I'm exactly the same type. If I see something like this, I would more likely click on the salt battery probably. But sometimes, yeah, it's not easy. And trying to judge YouTube, this video will perform well, this will not perform well. It's a gamble, I would say.
Yeah, so there are certainly choices to make about what you're going to embark on next. So you're not expecting much from your little mystery project there. It might surprise you, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But, I bought so much stuff from AliExpress. I've got chips I bought 7 years ago that I haven't even tried out yet. They might be fakes. I don't know. I just never got to them. So how do you decide what you're going to start on next, or your next big project, or your next content for that matter?
For me, because it's such a strict time schedule, I would say, because I finish one project, I go to the next one. I slow down my release schedule, I think, in 2022, but it's still so much work. So for me, it is definitely mandatory to have a schedule like this project, then this, then this, then this. I actually have it right behind me on my wall. It's planned right now, I think, up to the middle of this year. Things change around, but the topics vary a lot. They come from all kinds of different sources. I read all the YouTube comments still nowadays, and yeah, there I get a lot of ideas, because when you got electronics enthusiastic viewers, then they also have lots of ideas what they want to see, and they also got lots of knowledge that I don't have, because electronics is just such a big field. And there I often get awesome feedback, or on Twitter. I also have a Discord server, I think, for half a year now, where also awesome people who have lots of great ideas. There I actually also get lots of recommendation for AliExpress. There's a dedicated channel where they post stuff they find, which they think is interesting. So that helps me a lot, because you could browse through AliExpress for hours, and this makes it a bit easier. But yeah, so from viewers, basically from the outside, but then again, also my favorite is from everyday problems that you encounter. I don't have a specific one right now, but something doesn't work and you're like, hey, I'm an electronics engineer. there has to be a solution. Then you look online, you find out, okay, there is no commercial one. I'll have to do it myself. And that is how lots of projects start happening.
Oh yeah, I've had that before. Either in my younger days when I couldn't afford to buy the real thing, or it's proprietary and you just can't get it to do what you want. And it's so much easier if you slap in, say, a microcontroller and it's operating on your instructions.
Yeah.
In terms of tools, I mean, back in the day, I couldn't afford an oscilloscope. I used to use a parallel port on a on a PC as a logic analyzer. But you've been in this business for many years. What is an essential part of your toolkit?
Can I, before I answer that, here's another question from Bert C. I would love to answer because I get it all the time in the comments. It also has to do with tools. The Hack RF is one of, we are not the same, Scott.
Okay.
I just want to say that. So Hack
So that's
RF
not
is
your best tool.
No, it's not. I don't even have it. I looked at it before. Yeah, I think it's from the company GreatScott Gadgets. It's not my name. I have nothing to do with it. I think it's a software-defined radio. It is. You know them? SDR, I think they're called.
I've seen it around. I've never used it, but yeah, software-defined radio.
Yeah.
It seems very popular, but I'm more of a digital guy. I haven't played in RF for many years.
Yeah. I did a Wi-Fi optimization video at the end of last year, and there were so many comments about you need to use an SDR or a spectrum analyzer. There you can get better results and get this whole RF thing going. But I'm not an RF engineer, so I hope to do a video in the future that does this topic justice. But I will see. But getting back to the tools question, I think the obvious ones for an electrical engineer when you go into the more complex stuff, I would say an oscilloscope. I use it all the time, checking signals, seeing if there really is the PWM signal I need or the data signal. That is definitely top tool when it comes to advanced stuff. But I would also maybe add another category, and that's the simple tools. And for that, I would definitely recommend, I'm just looking at them, cutters and needle nose pliers. Like, wait, I think I got these forever now. Good quality Knipex cutter and needle nose pliers, essential.
Yeah. I thought you were going to break out the oscilloscope and logic analyzer. No, simple. You need good tools for the basic stuff. You have to have the fundamentals, right?
Yeah. You start simple. I mean, when I started my apprenticeship, those were the two tools I spent a year with. Okay, you also need a soldering iron, of course, but those are really the basics of the basics.
Yeah. And what sort of solder are you using? Are you doing lead free now?
I think I don't have any other option here in Germany, actually.
Okay.
Wait, I'll grab it. So this is the one. Back when I started, we had, I think, lead solder. It flowed way better onto the solder joints, also looked better at the end. Nowadays, I use something like this. I have no idea if people can see what I'm holding
Let's
here.
make you full screen.
Yeah, it's the pretty generic Amazon solder stuff, but it works. I got used to it, and yeah, there are really not many other options. I think nowadays in Germany they don't allow selling the lead option anymore, but many people always write in the comments, my soldering is horrible, but I actually never had a solder joint that failed on me. So I don't know what they want from me.
Yeah, when I started as a teenager, I had like a soldering gun. It was this thing with a trigger, and it's probably meant for car radiators. So I had quite a few dry joints from that thing until I got my own decent electronic soldering iron.
Yeah, so that's more for the big stuff, the gun.
Yeah, but I didn't know that. I was just messing around trying to fix loose wires on my computer keyboard. I mean, it worked, but it was a horrible job.
I think dangerous.
Yeah. on the edge, but you've got to start somewhere. I mean, I didn't have
Yeah.
anyone in the family who also did electronics.
Okay.
I just want to move on to this product. It's our product giveaway. It's today we're giving away DIY Lipo Supercharger Kit version 2. And guess who made it? Yeah, take a guess. GreatScott. That's the man right
Well,
here.
not entirely, but
Yeah,
lots
in
of the parts.
collaboration with us at Elector. I say
Yeah.
us at Elector. I didn't help at all. And all you have to do is go to our giveaway link, electormagazine.com/labtalk giveaway. Enter your details, enter the code word, which I'm not going to give you right now because I want you to continue watching, but we'll give it away later. Maybe you could guess the code word in the meantime.
Should I give a hint?
Yeah, give a hint. Go ahead.
So the code word is 2 words which are in every video of mine.
Your true fans will know.
Yeah, I think so. So I said it so often, I think it burned into the memories of the viewer, hopefully at this point.
So, looking at this project again,
Mhm.
let me switch tabs here. How did you come about doing that? How did this collaboration begin with your DIY Lipo Supercharger kit?
So it all started with basically nowadays power sources, lipo batteries, the small ones. I got tons of them in my drawers. Super handy for very small electronics. Do the job, but charging them and using them, I would say, is not that easy. For charging part, of course, you got the TP4056 board, which nowadays is still even super popular. But then back then I thought, okay, we can charge it, but you don't really want this unregulated voltage. I don't know, from 4 volts to 3.5 volts. You want something regulated. So in a previous project before the supercharger, I basically combined the TP4056 with a boost converter so that we can charge the battery, we can protect it. It had a dedicated protection IC from under voltage, over voltage, all that good stuff. And then also an boosted output 5 volts. And I think that was an awesome PCB. Lots of people actually watched that video. They thought so too. So one day, Elector came to me and they were like, "Hey, we love your stuff." I was like, "Hey, I read your stuff as well." They have a magazine which has been around forever, and it was natural for me to say, "Hey, we want to do something together, help each other." And they were like, "Yeah, why not do it with a project?" Because for them it is much easier to sell products. For me, if I would sell products, I wouldn't have time making videos, because in the end I'm still web video producer. I would say my main job is making videos, not selling products, and I want to stay that way. So I said, hey, okay, let's do that. Let's outsource this production part to you guys. And they really helped. Like, I gave them the original design. I said, hey, I want to use this IC. This IC would be nice. And then maybe we also added a resettable fuse. So if something goes wrong, that was really an awesome addition. And they did pretty much everything when it comes to the board design. They also have the expertise there, because with small ICs, I would say they are solvable by people who've done it before, but we wanted to appeal to everyone, even to those who just started out with electronics. And there we said, okay, we put the tricky ICs on the board before we ship it. So I think the people who get it only have to solder in 1206 resistors and capacitors, or yeah, I think 1206 it was, not 0805. So yeah, awesome collaboration, worked out. The board looks great. The people who bought it, all positive feedback. So I would say thumbs up there.
And did you have any people having any specific issues with soldering, maybe SMD or some other issues? Did you get any feedback from the builders of the kit?
From this kit now.
From the Lipo
Yeah,
charger, yeah.
yeah. It's all worked out fine for them, I would say. So there were no negative stuff like, this is too small to solder. I think we chose a big size. that is suitable for, I think, 99%.
Okay.
Yeah. Of
Cool.
course, there will always be someone who messes it up, but I think we can't do much about that.
And Live Stefan's asking what we're talking about. We're talking about the DIY Lipo Supercharger Kit version 2 that GreatScott made in collaboration with us at Elector. And that's what we're giving away today. People are asking for the link and the code word. Code word will come later, but there's the link, electormagazine.com/elector-lab-talk-giveaway. And I'd have to ask then, since you are not a seller, I'm not a salesman either, but you went in collaboration with Elector. What did you learn about marketing and sales from that collaboration?
Whew, good question. I would say from the marketing side, it definitely takes a while. That is what I learned. I don't want to blame Elector. It just takes a while to get conversation from one side to the other and back and forth and back and forth. So I think we started this collaboration. I don't know the year anymore, but it was a December, and I think we released it maybe 9, 10 months later, so also close to December. So it took a while. And from the marketing standpoint, I gotta say I didn't learn too much. I gotta be honest here. They did the marketing. I of course presented it to my viewers. No pressure though. I don't want to force anyone to buy anything from me. If they like what they see, they'll check it out themselves. If they don't like it, they skip it. I think that's always the best approach there. Of course, I said what the board can do because I think it was awesome. It still is awesome. Technology didn't change much there. I think nowadays you could maybe try implementing a switching converter instead of the linear one that we used. But yeah, for small batteries, it's not that important. And then maybe you got other problems with switching noise that you have to get rid of in the circuits. Maybe it's more of a headache. I actually, going to switching noise, small spoiler, that is one of the big problems, I think, of this board. You can see it in my next video. So keeping it simple, I think, is sometimes the best way to go.
Yeah, and that's a reminder to our audience. If you want to see Scott's next video, his YouTube URL is youtube.com/GreatScottLab. That's with 2 T's. It's there on the screen. GreatScott Lab, LAB.
Yeah.
And now looking at this project, it looks complex to me. I mean, there was a time, again, I was a teenager and I'm aging myself. We didn't have internet back then. So you're sitting at home, you've got a rechargeable battery. It's say 3 volts. So what I used to think is just, okay, connect a 3-volt power supply to it and it will charge. But it's a lot more complicated than that. I mean, you've got your DIY Lipo supercharger kit has like DC to DC converter, IC charger, an e-fuse, battery protection circuit. It's a sophisticated piece of engineering. And how do you make sure when you're aiming it to the kit market that it remains accessible with all of that complexity?
How do I make sure that
Yeah, you're building for a kit market. How do you make sure that it's accessible to people who are maybe just beginning?
well, that has to do with the size of the components. Like, of course, the SMD, a bit hard to solder, definitely more than through-hole, but the size is just big enough so that pretty much everyone can pick it up, solder it. And like I said before, the main ICs are already on the boards, so there's not much there. And I think the connector, the USB-C one, is also on a breakout board. So there you have to connect, solder on very big pads, and that's it. It's really, it's easy.
Breakout boards really help. We did a lab talk recently on all these different modules that you get. Once again, I had so many, I didn't know how many I had, but I was able to fill a huge desktop with all of the stuff I pulled out of the boards. HDMI breakouts, charging breakouts. It's just breakouts. It made me feel like I'm just connecting Lego together.
Yeah, but nowadays it is
Yeah.
so mandatory because the newest ICs, they're all SMD stuff, and it's not something that you can easily solder on a perf board. So breakout boards are definitely necessary nowadays.
Yeah, that's true. I even bought some PCBs that connect. You solder on the SMD, and then it breaks it out to like a dual inline, so you can use it more easily on a breadboard.
Yeah.
But one thing I wanted to ask you about, since your project is a Lipo charger, I have a lot of gadgets in my home office and lab which are battery powered, and you never know where the batteries came from, where the device came from. You're getting a lot of cheap
Mhm.
stuff like AC adapters from China. And I always
Mhm.
worry that that brick sitting there on the carpet is one day just going to go up in flames. Um,
Mhm.
how can one like up their safety game in terms of chargers and batteries and all that sort of thing?
So with battery, I think the most dangerous one, where I understand that most people have the most fear, including myself, is batteries, especially lithium ion lipo batteries. Not that easy, and it's fine to be a bit scared of that, to have respect. That's what we say in the electrician fields. You always need to have respect of mains voltage, and not get too used to it, so that you're always on your toes a bit. And I think that applies to batteries as well. With cheap AC/DC supplies, I wouldn't be too scared actually, because they're oftentimes fused, and if something goes wrong, you got your house breaker. So I never had any problems with any Chinese AC/DC power supplies. But with batteries, how you can be safe, I don't. So one big problem I noticed from friends as well: uh, don't charge batteries in the cold. Like it's under 0 degrees Celsius. Friend of mine, the garage burned down because his father was charging up a Makita battery pack, but not an original one,
Ah,
a
yeah,
fake one. He
that,
charged it up in the garage under 0 degrees Celsius, and I think that was the breaking point for the battery pack, where it said, nope, maybe genuine lithium ion would have endured it a bit, or maybe a genuine charger wouldn't have charged under 0 degrees Celsius. But they pumped current in at like minus 10 degrees Celsius, and that was too much. So there, I would definitely look out. Genuine cells would be great, genuine charger. And if you can't guarantee that, then make sure it's all according to the specifications of the battery. The temperature is important. What you pump into them. I, for example, also built a fake. I wouldn't say it's fake. The BMS is from a Makita battery pack. The cells are also genuine, but there are different ones. If you build it yourself, you can get it a bit cheaper, because I think such battery packs are always a bit overpriced, if I'm being honest. And yeah, with those, you can save a bit of money. But there, you have to know what you're doing,
mm,
because I got my Makita charger, and he's pumping in, I don't know, it's a quick charger, 8 amps of current. And if your cells are, there are two in parallel always, so if they cannot handle 4 amps alone, then at some point something might go wrong.
yeah,
So always follow the data sheets. And if you got fakes, usually there are fakes that perform worse. So sometimes, I don't know, it was years ago where I tested 4,000 milliamp hour lithium ion cells, and there were like 1,000 milliamp hours, and couldn't output or input anything big. So if you got fakes like this, then the danger is actually scaled down a bit. Of course, the energy has to go somewhere if they
mm,
explode, but it's not that bad. So
okay.
yeah,
Well, it's always worried me. I've seen a YouTube video of a unattended laptop in an office charging, and it set the whole office on fire when it exploded.
Mhm.
Uh, my daughter has a hoverboard which carries a lot of power and obviously comes from a no-name manufacturer. So I don't even want that thing inside the house, even if it's not charging.
Yeah, I can definitely understand those concerns.
Yeah. Oh, look, we have a surprise commenter from one of our previous shows. It's Max Imagination. Thanks for joining
Oh,
us, Max. He's another young maker, younger than you. He's still in his teens. And he says, Hi, great Scott, or Scott, as you've told me to call you. Love your videos. I started electronics 5 years ago, inspired by your videos. Yes, and 5 years is a long time in Max's life. What would be your best piece of advice to fellow aspiring makers out there starting with electronics?
My best piece of advice, especially I think to stay motivated, because that's always a problem when you got big projects and they involve in this category, and then you need like power and LEDs and sensors. My best piece of advice is always follow the projects that you are most interested in. um, if you got something that interests you, then it keeps you going and it draws you back to the table. And maybe it's not an easy one. You have to troubleshoot a day or two, like I had to do with my PCBs here. I had to troubleshoot actually 3 days before I realized, okay, this is a problem. I have to redesign this. And yeah, just do stuff that interests you the most, and also don't be afraid to step away from projects. Once again, this example here, I said no, okay, this frustrated me so much, I will not work on this for a week, 2 weeks, and then come back with a fresh mind, with a
Fresh
new,
mind always helps. It's like
yeah,
going to bed unable to solve a crossword and waking up in the morning and the answers come easily.
yeah. So it's
So
like this.
yeah, pretty much like that. And how do you stay up to date on the latest technologies? What are your forums? You watch a lot of YouTube. I mean,
Yeah.
besides scrolling AliExpress a lot, YouTube. Did you Reddit? What's your favorite go-to places for info?
Reddit, not so much actually. Most of the stuff I really get from YouTube.
Okay.
What is recommended to me, I think YouTube does a pretty good job. I showed them that I like electronics, and so they push me with electronic stuff, the new stuff. Um, but then also, for example, I did a video series with Mauser Electronics. They have an awesome online store, and there I did a video about they're also offering development boards, basically breakout boards once again for the newest ICs from all kinds of semiconductor manufacturers. And there I did one episode. I'm actually planning a second one because there's so much cool new stuff coming out that people don't know about, me including. So I think that's an awesome source to get information about the newest stuff. But then again, YouTube as well. But there I would a bit differentiate because there are lots of YouTuber nowadays, science YouTubers, who just read me the newest articles. Like,
Mm.
hey, scientists discovered this, scientists discovered that, and I'm like, hey, great. I can read that in the news. Show me when you got the real products, like I did with my battery, salt battery. I only showed that at the point where the battery is available to either private users
Mm.
or the industry. So that's what I try to avoid, because there's so much in development and so much gets dropped along the way because things are just not maybe feasible later on, or they are just not feasible in an economic sense. So yeah,
Yeah, I understand your pain. Something I try to avoid doing is not just to tell the reader what somebody told me. You have to add your own and do a bit of
yeah.
investigation. But worse than those ones that just read you a news item are the ones that do it in a robot voice, thinking you don't know. Those are,
Well, with AI nowadays, it's hard to avoid them.
yeah. I suppose they're getting better. One day we'll be used to them. But I normally just go straight to the next video when the robot starts talking to me.
Hmm.
Next question let's take a question from the audience first, from Bert C again. What's your all-time favorite video that you've made?
It's so many videos. I think how many I've done, 450 something. If I don't count shorts, because I wouldn't count shorts. Um,
463, according to your
oh,
channel.
yeah, so many. I think and that's also a small problem with when you make so many videos. It all at some point becomes a blur.
Yeah,
Like, but yeah, if you're there, go to popular. Maybe one of the popular ones is my favorite ones.
cool.
But I see your internet is not the best.
Oh, it doesn't want to load.
Yeah.
It's, maybe it's YouTube, but it's working for us to chat. Now let's have a look at your profiles here. You've got 1.92 million subscribers on YouTube, So no wonder you like to go to YouTube for information. People come to you for information on the same. You've got
Yeah.
a second channel for stuff that doesn't fit your normal YouTube, and there already you've got
Oh yeah.
32,000. You've got your, what is this, Patreon? Yeah,
Patreon, yeah, super
yeah,
important. In my early days, I was also at the point like Afrotech Mods, where it was just not. I wasn't really making money with YouTube, but I was spending so much time on YouTube that I had to decide which way I want to go. And with Patreon, if anyone sees my stuff and is like, "Hey, this really helped me with my project, with my studies," I would like to thank you. There, they can do this with a donation of, I think the minimum is $1 per month,
okay. That's
which I think
very
is
affordable.
affordable, and you can even get a discount if you do 1 year. You don't pay $12, you pay like $10. So I try to make it accessible to everyone because there are also bonus things, like you can answer questions me directly. I help with projects if it is one of my older projects, because if I help everyone with their projects, I don't have time to do anything else.
Absolutely.
And also very important, Patreon supporters can watch early. I think that is
Yeah,
pretty awesome. So when I finish a video, I'm actually currently in the process of editing this big project here. Then as soon as it is done, Patreon supporters can watch it. Sometimes it's 1 week earlier, sometimes it's 2 weeks earlier. So
yeah.
I
Important,
think that's,
important
yeah,
to not only to give your audience perks for spending some money or donating, but also for you not to have all your monetization eggs in one basket, so to speak. Because
yeah.
what if YouTube goes away?
Yeah, that's always my emergency plan. If YouTube says we don't pay you, if my sponsors say we don't pay you, I can always say, okay, I can keep this going for a while. I have Patreon support, and that's awesome.
Yeah,
For self-employed, that puts peace in your mind a bit.
yeah, for sure. I haven't used Patreon, but then again, like I said, I'm not monetized. I just do it for fun. Some YouTube videos here and there. Then you've got Instagram, which is 50,000 followers right there. Now, for a platform that many see as model influencers modeling, that's not bad at all. 56,000 on Instagram.
Yeah,
What else? Yep.
it definitely bumped up because of my shorts.
Yeah.
Uh,
Shorts
yeah,
became all the rage thanks to
yeah,
TikTok.
I gotta say, I'm a victim as well. I would say it's a guilty pleasure of mine to watch shorts.
Yeah.
It's not healthy. I would say it's just like, how do you say it? In German, it's called berieselt werden. Um, I don't know the English word. You just turn off your brain and
Mm.
watch shorts and just scroll. And so I thought, hey, if I can maybe put a bit of electronics in there, maybe I can get people to check out my YouTube channel, learn something new there about electronics. Maybe it's their passion and they never get exposed to it. So that's why I tried to make shorts. But if I say I made them, then I did not actually make them. I had another company that reached out to me. Yeah, and they said, hey, we do short editing of your main videos. And I'm like, hey, that sounds great. They set me their pricing and I was like, okay, we can try this out. And I'm very happy with it. Some videos, I think if you scroll down a bit with the USB-C port, that had a lot of views. You're too far.
Too far. Okay. USB-C. Where is it?
A bit up, a bit up, bit up
Upgrading
there.
that one.
Upgrading a cheap. Yeah, it had like 705,000 views.
Wow. 11,000 likes. Nice.
Yeah, so that's pretty nice. So I hope someone checked out my main channel from that. So that is the idea, because I don't want to waste time making shorts because I always work on the next big video, and it's just not worth it for me in this regards. But with the editing software, I think it was definitely worth it to try out.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say make it short specifically, but like you've done, you've taken longer form content and put them into shorts.
Yeah.
Now, my next question is about your. Let me make you full screen so I can see that office space behind you, that lab. It's so neat and tidy, and everything's labeled, and it's a real inspiration. I've even bought a labeling machine, but I can never find it because I'm that disorganized. How do you manage to keep that and come up with systems to sort out all your stuff?
You need a labeling machine for the labeling machine.
Yes,
Yeah. I
labeling
think
machine in the
I
cupboard with
think
labeling machine written on it.
yeah, I think it's in my it's just very personal that it's in my genes being tidy. It wasn't so in my youth. It actually started out when I work from home right now. I don't have an extra office. It's YouTube. I always did it from home, from my apartments. Now I'm in my own house, and there it's just important to stay organized and stay a bit tidy, because once again there's a German saying for it: "Wenn dir die Decke auf den Kopf fällt." This is what you want to avoid. Basically, the ceiling crashing down on your head.
Yeah.
So with the tidiness, it just makes it so that I can work here happily. And I developed a concept over the years with the drawers all nicely labeled, with my IKEA drawers under the table. I actually did a video how I moved into this new lab here, what shelves I ordered, what I put in there. So right now I'm super happy with my organization. And the best thing is that I now also have a garage right behind me, and there I can put all the mechanical stuff and work with wood and metal in
Mm,
there, because I did that before in my lab here back then in my apartment, and you can imagine what a
sawdust,
mess. Yeah.
iron
So
filings.
it's not a pretty sight, and when you live there where you work, then you go crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm super happy this way now, and yeah, this is why I tidy up everything, because I work and live here.
Well, maybe you could come pay me a visit and help me with organization because you're certainly keeping the roof from falling on your head, the German saying. Although I would
Yeah.
say, manchmal sind die Dächer der Häuser mit Schnee bedeckt. So, which means I sometimes feel like my roof is covered in snow and it's about to come down any moment. I see the popular videos have loaded.
Oh,
I want to have a
back
look at
to
that.
the
Yeah,
favorite video.
yeah.
Oh, there's so many good videos. I can't even, like the car alternator, that was super fun. The microwave overcurrent experiment, I did that with a very good friend of mine. We're still friends nowadays. That was awesome. Ah, can you go down a bit? The DIY solar tracker also so interesting. It was so much fun.
Yeah,
How to solder properly.
moving parts. That's my
Yeah,
weakness a bit is building things with moving parts. I can
yeah,
do
it's
anything with a
not easy.
microcontroller.
Yeah.
I'm just going to have to watch more of your videos. Well, I guess that answers Bert C's question. There are many favorites, Bert.
Yeah, I can't really decide. Like when it comes to the functionality aspect of a project, then I would say everything home assistant related. I think that is functionality wise so awesome, and that is something I will actually integrate this year in my house with a big, nice dashboard where I can control everything with home assistant, because you can add so much stuff to it if you know how it works, how you can add stuff
Mm,
and good stuff. I think I did various videos about how to add AC power monitoring, alarm system. What else did I add? I think I added a relay for sockets, for an outlet. Yeah, good stuff.
yeah, so much good stuff. I need to watch more of you. Um, I enjoyed your video about turning 30 and all the things that you've turned up
Yeah.
in the last year. You are a popular TikToker now.
Well, yeah, that was my clickbait, I would
Yeah.
say, to get people like, huh, what? A TikToker? No, I'm not really a TikToker though.
Well, here's a question from Ayinka. I hope I said that correctly. I like DIY versus design, but EEV blog Electro Boom, even Art of Electronics is design. What should we follow? Design or DIY? DIY is fine. We're all about DIY, but you can do great design in DIY as well.
I don't really understand. Does he mean? the DIY is like the crude version and design is then with a PCB design, or?
I think it's just a matter of terminology. I mean, Electro
I,
Boom, Art of Electronics, they say design. Say what you like. I like
yeah,
DIY.
yeah.
Okay.
Design sounds so, um, start design electronics, KiCad, and how
And
electrical.
how to start design in electronics. Okay, now I'm getting a better, a clearer picture of the question. KiCad and how Elector will help. So
So
yes,
about PCB design.
yeah,
Yeah. Um, Good question how to start.
yeah,
I actually never tried KiCad, to be honest. It is people oftentimes don't understand. They're like, "Ah, this is the greatest open source PCB design software." I'm like, I just didn't get to it because I started with my PCB sponsor, JLC PCB, and they have their own easy EDA. I
yeah,
started with that. I stuck with that because it works and it does the job fine for all of my projects. So I never had the urge to switch. So yeah, this
yeah,
is how I started out. And
yeah. And I haven't had PCBs made since like 20 years ago. And back then there was no maker movement and cheap one-off boards that you could. I had to buy like 100 boards if I really wanted it, and then I would use like eight of them and have 92 left over. But they were very pretty. Since then, I've
yeah,
just used like VeraBoard and Stripboard and stuff. But nowadays, like with JLPCB, it's so much easier to get a prototype in your hands sooner. And just to answer Ayinka's question a bit more about KiCad, Elector has some KiCad books. We have a great Peter Dalmaris from Australia is one of our authors, and he's written a couple of books on KiCad. So that would be a good place to start. And of course, subscribe to our magazine. Many articles, and you can get great tips there. And you won't learn KiCad from Scott, but watch his channel. You'll learn a lot nonetheless. Nice comment from Andre. You inspired me to start Arduino and electronics.
awesome. I actually, I also had no idea how Arduino worked when I started. As a fun fact, I learned electrical power engineering. If we want to go back to the first question, how I got started,
Hmm.
electrical power engineering. I have a bachelor and master's degree in that, and microcontrollers was not the topic at all that you learn there, any kind. I did a additional course. I think there we used the MSP 420 or 470. Not, I think it was 420.
I think
Uh,
430, the Texas Instruments one.
yeah, 430.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was
Okay.
430.
Was for I built a alarm clock was our assignment for the end.
Okay.
So that was all the microcontroller knowledge I had. And for the Arduino, I learned it all from scratch, also from YouTube videos. Obviously, not mine from the beginning, but there is enough information nowadays out there. There are so many tutorials, blogs, even from Arduino. You get so much. And I think the more projects you do, uh, like this one, it's also made in Arduino. It uses an 80 tiny, um, and also you learn so much stuff. Here, I, for example, got the problem that I was using a pin that wasn't used by the core library that was in Arduino. So he was using the timer A for all the PWM signals, and I was using a pin that had the timer B. So of course, I had to dig through the data sheets, learn how to configure the timer to get my PWM signal. And that is then the advanced stuff that you can go to later. Once you have all these simpler projects, Arduino projects under your belt, you can really go forward and yeah,
Yeah.
become better.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said you didn't learn much about marketing, but you're marketing the hell out of your next video. You keep showing us this board and won't tell us what it is. So we're going to have to watch your next video.
Yeah, definitely. I put so much blood and sweat and tears in this. Would be a shame if no one watches it.
Okay. Now, to reward those who are still with us for our giveaway, you can see the URL there. It's electromagazine.com/elector-lab-talk-giveaway. And the code word that you'll need, some of you have guessed it, stay creative. There we
Yeah,
go. And
Yeah.
well done to Ayinkya for figuring that one out. Now we're giving away the DIY Lipo Supercharger Kit version 2 from GreatScott and Elector. And that brings me to another question, which seems to have scrolled away here. Hold on a sec. Ah, there we go. From Roland or Roland. I had a LiPo that wouldn't charge anymore when it was in the camera. Polarity was reversed when checking it. After forcing 2.5 volts with about 50 milliamps for 1 minute, it worked again in the camera. You do get those weird things sometimes.
Yeah,
But he wants to know, is that dangerous?
I think what you're talking about is not a rare LiPo, so it sounds more like a battery pack for a camera. So there, I wouldn't say that the LiPo was the problem, but maybe the battery management circuit or the charging circuit, and you just gave it a nice slap to say, hey, we got power here. Maybe it's disabled itself because it was completely dry and laid in a corner for a while, and the voltage sunk under the under voltage protection. And by just giving it a bit, it charges up. It tells the system, the protection circuit, hey, there is juice left. We can still use this battery, this LiPo cell. And yeah, so not dangerous, I would say, but keep an eye on it. Maybe the cell really did suffer through the under voltage, but usually should work.
Cool. And yeah, I've got a comment which I agree with. Not a question, a comment, but I fully agree. Scott, I really like the way you write and draw things on data sheets and schematics. We've all seen those videos that are quote unquote satisfying or so satisfying. Well,
Yeah.
I find it satisfying to watch you carefully draw on your paper exactly what you're going to do. It really lays things out well.
Yeah. Wait a minute. I always got a pack of pens here. Typical. Oh, where put it? Not sponsored in any way. Sadly, Stabilo never reached out to me. But it's the typical German
Yeah,
pencil that you find in elementary school, middle school, high school, university. It's everywhere. It is the from Stabilo, and it's called Point 88.
yeah,
So if someone wants to get those as well, really nice pens,
yeah.
really fine. Yeah,
Stabilo, if you're listening, you know where to go. And if not, we'll reach out to Faber Castell.
I would love it if Stabilo reached out, because I always try to integrate sponsors which makes sense with my content.
Yeah.
So far, I didn't have a VPN sponsor like many others. I'm so lucky that I have lots of electronics partners who are like, hey, we would love to sponsor you. And I'm like, hey, you do awesome electronic stuff. I would love to do that as well. So, and
Cool.
Stabilo would fit.
Definite fit. I mean, yeah, you're a good ad for them. Back to power. What are your thoughts about high voltage, high current on beginners projects? For example, I'm currently modifying the secondary coil of a microwave transformer. Whoop, sounds dangerous. To build a DIY spot welder. That's from Live Stefan.
So first off, I always say in my high voltage, high current videos, disclaimer: only do this if you're a professional.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I of course cannot tell you from here, stop doing this. You can do whatever you want,
Yeah.
at your own risk, of course. And usually, I would be more scared of high voltage, actually. I still, to this date, I think never powered up my Tesla coil with full power, because I really do have respect there for high voltage. Because with the arcs, it's not pleasant. With high current, I'm not sure if you adding more windings or less windings to the secondary coil. DIY spot welder, of course, he's putting less windings on there to get more current. So maybe, I don't know, 20 volts with lots of current. That is definitely safer.
Yeah.
I would, however, always add a fuse to the input side. Or if you're like me in Germany, we always have a breaker. So maybe have a dedicated breaker for the input side. If everything fails, this one will always keep it a bit safe. But yeah, with low voltage, high current, Not from me, but you can do what you want. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we can't say don't try this at home because we're DIY is all about trying things at home, but yeah, at your own risk, especially in 220-volt country like Europe and South Africa, where I'm from. But here in
No.
America, it's 110 volts, so it's not quite as dangerous, I don't think. Here's a comment from Miguel Rodriguez. Hi, Scott. I'm so happy I can finally say thank you. Thank you for helping me learn so many electronics since my teens. I actually grew up watching your videos, and so I am now. And thanks, Miguel. We're glad you're watching.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm always happy for feedback when people come. I'm doing this for 10, 11 years now. And it's crazy when I read sometimes comments. They're like, hey, I watched this when I was a kid. Now I'm an adult. You brought me into electronics. I'm like, I'm getting old.
Yeah, well, when
Yeah.
I tell you I watched you as a kid, then you should worry about getting old. Another question from Jack. What does Scott think about all the advances in AI and will be incorporating AI in upcoming projects? Are you going to?
I am for coding. I'm a big fan of AI. I wouldn't say I'm a terrible programmer coder. Like I said before, I didn't really learn it professionally. But sometimes moving bits around, writing these variables into a bigger one. Yeah, it's I'm stupid in that regard, and I'm not ashamed to say it. So their ChatGPT with Arduino programming, it's spot on. Like I haven't encountered a problem where ChatGPT can't write Arduino code. On the other
Hmm.
hand, that is the problem. I also tried to use ChatGPT for my one of my latest videos where I programmed an whole tech microcontroller. It's microcontroller from Taiwan, pretty unknown, but they're super cheap and they can do awesome stuff. I would recommend checking the video out. But there, the problem was ChatGPT couldn't help me either because it wasn't familiar with the specific coding language that is used in this specific IDE.
Yeah.
So it definitely does have its limitations. And this way, I once again had to figure everything out by myself, which took a lot of time. I learned a lot, but yeah,
Yeah, it's
always
it's
limitations.
it doesn't replace the programmer, not yet anyway, but I found it so useful in just really speeding things up, whether it's Python code
Mm.
or Arduino. You know, I'm stronger at C than I am at Python, but even making useful web browser extensions for my Google Chrome, it can do all that. And
It
yeah,
can.
it can. Yep. I've got a bunch of useful extensions that I use in my working day. Like sometimes a website doesn't do what you need it to do. It's not the most efficient way, and you've got to click this and click that all day long. And you just tell
Okay.
ChatGPT, here's the code, here's the website. Give me a button I can click on, or you know, a keyboard shortcut. Yeah, does amazing things that way. What
I
I
will have to try that.
yeah,
That
what
sounds useful.
oh, it's very useful. I mean, we there's one website I use that doesn't allow you to middle click to open a document in a new tab. Now you've
Mm.
got a list of them, and maybe I want to look at all 10 of them one at a time and do the same thing. No, you have to click on it, opens in the same tab, it forces you. So I've got an extension to override that, for example. And then I added a button that says open all in new tabs. Boom, problem solved very quickly. So
That is awesome. Yeah.
yeah, it's not useful at everything. I'll tell you one thing it's absolutely useless is cryptic crosswords. Completely useless. Whenever I've run into a difficult corner, no help whatsoever. Comment about trying this at home. Thanks, Peter. Following along versus sometimes creating magic smoke. Yeah, we've all done that. And I've had my fair share of 220-volt shocks, and they weren't as funny as Electro Boom makes them out to look.
I would say follow along is always possible up to a certain point, but
Yeah,
sometimes I do topics and videos. There is no one to follow along, so
yeah.
I'll have to risk the magic smoke, and usually it's fun.
You know, pave your own way. Yama Blue, my favorite video, since you couldn't put your hands on a specific one, Scott, my favorite video is the one with the Nixie clock. I recreated it.
Awesome. I still got it. I have all my projects laying around somewhere. The Nixie clock, definitely something lovely to look at.
Yeah. Do you have space to keep all that stuff, all your projects?
Yeah, now I got a house, I got more space, so pretty much every big shelf I have on top, it's just all my projects lined up.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a hoarder myself, but I've had a few more years on you to collect even more junk. So
Hmm.
some people say I'm a high functioning hoarder. I don't think I'm that high functioning.
Just the hoarder.
Yeah. That's a shout out to Random Nerd Tutorials.
I think I've heard that before, yeah.
And question on batteries again. One of the battery packs on my laptop has gone to sleep. How can I revive it? Depends what you mean by to sleep, I guess.
Yeah, I think that is similar maybe to the question before, where the viewer before asked said he charged it up with a small voltage pulse, 50 milliamps, 2.5 volts. Maybe you should just figure out the voltage of your battery pack. Usually it's a couple of cells in series, maybe, I don't know, 19, 20 volts. And then I would always recommend a lab bench power supply, limited maybe to 100 milliamps, 20 volts. Find which pin is plus and minus from your battery pack and just hook it up there. And that should usually give it a small burst to activate it again. Yeah, but no promises.
Yeah. Okay. This question, look, we've gone past our 1 hour, so I don't want to keep you too long, Scott.
Yeah.
But this question I wanted to ask you myself. If you could tell us briefly what video equipment you use.
Most important, I think, nowadays is good lighting. So you can also watch that in my lab video where I showed how to set up this lab. I use LED spots on the top. I use my warm white LED strips around, and then I got an aperture. I checked an aperture Lightstorm COS 120D2 for lighting. I think most important is lighting nowadays. And then camera wise, I upgraded 5 years ago to a Sony Alpha Mark II.
Okay. Those are cool.
Wait a minute, I can show you. Yeah, that's
Ah,
that's the
nice.
camera basically. So it's a Alpha 7 Mark III, I think. Says here
That's a
Mark III.
that's a very nice one. I mean, I'm
And
coming to you from a Sony ZV-E10, which is a smaller, the baby of the Alpha range, but it does the job.
sure. I before I had a Canon, I think 700D. It was a lot cheaper, but also worked. In the end, it's what you do with it. It's
Yeah.
very important. And for this, also a pretty generic screen on top. And then important, I have two lenses. This is one which does my wide angle when I do the shots in front of the camera, or I want to film wider. It's a Zeiss FE4/16 minus 35. Not sure if you can see that. And
Well,
my other one.
even if we can't see it, we can hear it, and this video will be recorded for YouTube. So I will certainly be going back and taking notes. And I must say that
My shelves.
the roof is falling down.
Sometimes they don't want to open. That's pretty much the only drawback. And
Oh, that-
here I got the last thing. It's my other lens. That is what I use pretty much for everything. Like it's FE424 to 105, and it extends very nicely. So pretty much all shots you see on my workbench, pretty much everything except the ones where I'm in front there, I use this one, is made with this. So that's my setup. I didn't change it since 5 years.
Well, that's great, and you do amazing things with it. It's nothing worse than buying expensive equipment, and the photo you take looks like a snapshot that came from your phone because you're just not getting the best from it. And you've been getting the best of it, and we unfortunately have gone over our hour, and we don't want to keep Scott here all day, although the questions keep coming, and I had a whole lot more questions myself in mind. but I cannot keep you. So thank you very much for joining us, Scott.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a blast.
That was Scott, the man behind GreatScott. So it brings us to the end of an electrifying session here at Elector Labs Lab Talk. So a huge thanks to GreatScott for joining us today and sharing his insights and the incredible journey into the world of DIY electronics. It's been a pleasure uncovering his world of circuits and the creativity that drives his projects. So if you're itching to get more of his ingenious creations, be sure to check out his channel at youtube.com/GreatScottLab. Trust me, it's a treasure trove of knowledge for anyone looking to head out on their own electronics adventure. Safely, of course. And let's not forget, if you're
Of
craving
course.
more content like this, exploring the cutting edge of DIY projects, electronics, and much more, make sure to visit our YouTube channel, which you can get to at elector.tv in your web browser. From tutorials to project ideas and expert insights, Elector has you covered. And to our viewers, thank you for tuning in and being part of today's conversation. If you haven't already, consider subscribing to our channel, again, elector.tv, where we continue to explore the fascinating world of technology, innovation, and the creative minds that fuel it. Thanks once again for joining us, GreatScott, or Scott, as you prefer to be known. And keep creating, keep innovating, and as always, stay curious. I'm Brian Tristan Williams, signing off here, and we'll see you in the next stream.
Bye bye.
Cheers.